Hey, it's Cosmic Charles, and we did it. We got the 5-0 with Turbo Party. All right, yeah. It was a pretty fast league. I only lost one game in the final match, so that was pretty fun. I also had a match where the opponent conceded the whole match after the first game, which I actually kind of like to see because it makes recording faster. All right. Anyway, I thought I'd just go over the deck a little bit here. If you want, you can skip this part if you already know how it works and move on to the league. But I'll discuss this like some of my choices and why I run things, maybe some lines. I might ramble on a bit, so buckle up. But anyway, so yeah, so this deck is similar to like Ruby Storm in a lot of ways. It also has similarities with like the Whack decks, as a commenter pointed out earlier as well. I don't know if some of you might not be familiar with the Whack decks. Is a pretty the only one that I'm familiar with is from like long ago. It was like a budget modern deck back in like the golden age of modern that ran Goblin Bushwhacker and another Whacker as well. I forget the name of it because it's an uncommon, and I pretty much only play Pauper now and tabletop and limited. Um, so I have no idea what it's called, but it allowed you to have 8 Bushwhackers in your deck, and it was just doing some crazy things. Yeah. Anyway, this deck also has that effect, so it can go off pretty hard. And that's basically what you're trying to do. You're trying to make a lot of mana, populate the field, and bushwhack, even with the Avenging Hunter. Because there's many times where casting Avenging Hunter just won't be enough because of if you're up against another aggro deck where they can take it, or Gav Blast your Hunter, swing in with a Glinthawk or like a Thraben Inspector or something like that. But if you've given it haste, you kind of tilt the clock a fair bit in your favor, so you can get around that. Particularly if you do it on like turn 2. Turn 1 might be okay if you're on the play against like a player that can remove and swing in. First Day of Class is another way to get around Gal Blast as well, since you can make your Avenging Hunter a 5 power creature. Now, First Day of Class, I'd always been on my radar while I was building this deck, but I was concerned about how well it would fit in. I was very impressed with it when I was running, and when I put it in, and I still think you could actually run 4 in this deck if you were willing. If you like, for example, you don't like Goblin War Party, let's say, um, and you want to run something else. There's a card called Coal Stoker. It's some type of I forget what set it's from. Let me see if I can find it actually. Sorry, 1 second. 0. I hope it's called Coal Stoker. It might not be called that. That's what it looks like. Sometimes I have my own name for cards, and they're not the actual name of the card. So let's check her out. Come on, be that name. Yes, I was right. Okay, so this is a card, for example, that you could run instead of Goblin War Party if you were to run 4 First Day of Class. So it adds 3 red when it enters the battlefield, and it costs 4. So basically, it's just another way of populating the field really quickly, like a la BTE. Well, it does cost 1. With a Goblin and Archomancer, it's mana neutral. With 2 Goblin and Archomancers, it actually, adds mana. The reason why I'd say you want to run First Aid class with this is it's not too difficult to get up to 6 or 4 mana actually with a Goblin and Archomancer, and to like start just chaining off spells. I haven't tried it. Really, what I want is Priest of Urabrask. I don't know how to spell Urabrask, so I don't know if I can find this here. I'll just put Priest of, and hopefully there's not too many of those. Come on. I'll just make the color red. Let's see how we do that. Color red. Come on. Okay, yes, Priest of... Oh, that's a full art borderless card. If only this card was common. They they should make it common. Nothing's going to happen. No one's going to abuse it. Come on, just downgrade the Priest. Because could you imagine if you had a deck with Coal Stoker and Priest of Urbrask in it, and the RTE and the Goblin and Namesticker Goblin? plus Goblin Archmancer, you'd just be able to go wide in an instant. It would be amazing. But unfortunately, the Priest isn't a common, so it's kind of holding me back from putting in the Cold Stoker. But you could run Cold Stoker. It might be good. All right, I kind of rambled on a fair bit there. I'll talk about some more choices. Oh yes, if you were to do that, by the way, you'd go down to 12 lands, because it kind of limits your sideboarding. I'd probably cut a mountain. I know the forest seems like it's not necessary, but it's getting the forest to cast multiple Avenging Hunters has been useful enough times that I like having it there, even as it's like an untapped colorless source sometimes. Um, yeah, you can really only support 5 of these blast post board. You're kind of cutting into like cards you actually want with a 6 copy. So there is an argument that you should only run 5 of the red blast effects in the sideboard and instead run something else for a matchup like Mogwart. So you could run, a Fairy Macabre or a Tormod's Crypt. I wouldn't run the ones that require mana because you might not have too much to be able to do that. And or something or another like lesson perhaps you could do instead of this one. I'm leaning towards a one of copy of Grave Hate, but then again, it depends on what you want to do. All I'm saying is the 6 copy of Red Blast. I'm not sure if it should be in the sideboard. It might be too difficult to board in properly. And yeah, I think that's about it. If you want to it's because of this deck has you're looking to like top deck well, like to spike basically, hit like a good card and go off, and you're trying to create a situation that's like a tinderbox where you only need so many things. So when you're checking out your opening hand and about what to keep, what you need to think about it is like what cards make this go off, and if it's more than one, then like more than one type of card, I should say, then you might want to consider mulliganing. Like, you want to keep a hand where it's like, all I need is mana, or all I need is a green source, or all I need is like, and it depends on, of course, it also depends on like how easy it is to get that thing. But you should always be looking for like, what are my lines when you're keeping a hand, and how likely is it that those lines will occur. All right, and I think that about sums it up. All right, on to the league. All right, game 1, let's check it out. So I'll keep this. This says mana can go places. So one of the nice things about first day of class is it kind of makes like Goblin War Party a little cheaper because you don't need to entwine it now to get that +1/+1 effect. The same thing is kind of true for Goblin Bushwhacker, but making these +1/+1 counters staying is pretty huge. So I will keep it. Our opponent is the Sorceress Queen, a known Infect player. They're not on Infect tonight. They seem to be playing Grixis Affinity. And there's Ichor Wellspring. I draw Seething Song, so that's nice. Let's see what I can do here. I'll go Song into First Day, grabbing the Pest Summoning into Name Sticker Goblin. 3/3. Yeah, that Seething Song was actually a pretty good hit because it allowed me to cast that Name Sticker Goblin with a +1 counter. Yeah, there we go. That's pretty good. It's a lot of 2/2s. We just have to hope that they don't have Krauk Clan Shaman, which it looks like they conceded, so I suppose they might not have it in the main. Oh, wait, no. There it is. Now they've conceded. So they might not have it in the main. All right, on to game 2. All right, game 2. We'll check out the sideboard first. So it looks like I brought in my Pyros and 1 Red Blast. I didn't really want to bring in all 6 against 3-color deck. And I cut 1 First Day, 2 Goblin War Party, and 2 Goblin Bushwhacker, which I think I was experimenting a little bit there. One of the reasons why I'm cutting the Goblin Bushwhacker is because you can get it with Goblin Matron, so it can be redundant. It's more redundant than any of my other +1/+1 effects in the deck. I don't think I should be taking out 2 though, but we'll see. It's fun to experiment with boarding. Alright, there we go. And they go Vault into Blood Fountain. This hand is very close to doing a lot of things. It just needs 1 red mana to go off. And that'll work, that'll do. It's going to be a little slower. It means this is going to be a turn 3 instead of whatever I may have attempted. Although maybe I'm going for a turn 2 may not even been right. So I'm going for the Goblet and Archomancer now, and the reason being is I drew a second Goblet and Archomancer, so I want to bait out, yeah, I want to bait out some removal, and maybe they tap out. So that is what happened. So that means I just get to go ham here. And I'll play my second Goblet and Archomancer, and then I can go Seething Song into First Day, grabbing the Spirit Summoning. It's important to note whether or not it's not going to matter here, but sometimes you need to look at what your lands are going to untap into when searching out your lesson. And then there's the Nameseeker Goblin into the Spirit Token. And I think I should have just swung all out, but I decided to hedge my bets. I was scared about Krark Clan Shaman, but that attack left me like the most vulnerable to it, so luckily they didn't have it. Okay, on to the second match. Okay, match 2. We're up against Rough Rider. Now, this was a one-game match. Our opponent saw what deck we were on after game 1 and just declined to continue playing. Alright, so let's check out the hand. I don't think I can keep this. It doesn't really, it's too much mana. Not enough for what lines I'd want to do, not for what's in the hand. This is a turn 2 Avenging Hunter, so I'll keep it. Alright, that's one of the nice things about Avenging Hunter, is that it's really easy to cast versus like all the other things you're doing, so it's helpful for the mulliganing. I'll play the Nameseeker Goblin into the Lotus Petal, into the Avenging Hunter, grabbing a mountain and wishing that I had a Goblin Bushwhacker, but I don't, so I'll just pass the turn. They play Simic Growth Chamber, and that probably means that we got this one. Put the +1 counters on the Avenging Hunter, and I'm not going to play this Goblin and Archomancer. It adds 2 extra damage to like my clock, but I just don't think that that's, worth it when you already have like 13 damage with the trap. So it can do way more things, I think it's better to hold it in your hand in case, like, they try and come back. Yeah, so this is Turbo Fog, which has been a good matchup. Usually just too fast for them. A fun note, I once played a Turbo Fog player who was holding up Weather the Storm. I just went off, but it didn't matter because I had like multiple of those +1/+1 effects. So I was able to deal with the life gain. Alright, on to match 3. Okay, match 3, and let's see how we did. Can't keep that, so let's see what we mulliganed into. Pretty good. Yeah, I'll keep this for sure. This has a lot of potential, and at worst, it can, be like a... I really didn't want to bottom that Goblin Matron. I bottomed the Goblin Matron there because if I hit a 4, it's really bad that I bottomed the Goblin Bushwhacker, So I just didn't want to play into that. It hurt me, though. Anyway, they're holding up the red mana, so I'm not even going to cast a Nameseeker Goblin, so it was a good thing that I bottomed the Goblin Matron there. This allows me just to come in, put a little bit of pressure on. It doesn't play around their bolts so much, because if they had multiple bolts, and they could, like, it plays on 1 lightning bolt effect pretty well. It doesn't play around 2 very well, because then they can just, like, really weaken my field. But I'm just going to keep swinging in here and take my time a little bit until they tap out. One of the crazier things about this line is that I had to play out my green source of mana to cast this Avenging Hunter in order to for that line to be viable. But you run like 17 green swords. Yeah, exactly. So I was just hoping to draw another one. And I drew it just in the nick of time there. So that was pretty nice. And I passed a turn. They go Wedding Invitation into Glinthawk. I think they're probably looking for, what's that card called? All That Glitters, to try and stonewall me. But they miss on that. I get a Goblin Bushwhacker, which should probably be pretty devastating. And I get in. They're down to 3, and I forge onto my Avenging Hunter to make it Galv proof. I know a lot of these decks do run Journey to Nowhere, but it's better to play around at least one thing rather than, nothing. And they're dead to the trap. All right, on to game 2. Okay, back for game 2 of the third match. Let's check out my sideboard. So it looks like I took out a Goblin Bushwhacker, a first day of class, and 2 Goblin War Party. So one of the I like first day of class in these Guild Blast matchups because putting the +1 counter onto the Avenging Hunter prevents them from untapping and then Guild Blasting your Avenging Hunter. So I honestly would like to leave all 3 in the matchup, but another way of protecting it is mutagenic growth, which is much easier. So so cutting 1 is kind of fine. It's like another way of protecting your Avenging Hunter in addition to your mutagenic growths, plus being its own thing. All right, let's check out. All right. This is kind of tempting to keep, but well, this is what I first thought. But all these Goblin and Narcomancers are basically mulligans, so this is almost like a mulligan to 5. So it's probably a good idea to, because the Goblin and Narcomancer is not also a Burning Tree Emissary, you know. So let me just mulligan. I was also tempted to keep this hand because it had a lot of mana, but it's just so much mana that it's just asking to get like, womp womped, like fizzle out. So there we go. Now this hand so far doesn't seem very good, but it has the most potential out of all the hands, and that is because I have 2 Goblin Matrons. So I can use the first Goblin Matron to grab a Goblin and Narcomancer, and that now is the combo Goblin and Narcomancer, Goblin Matron, because that changes the chain to multiples of 2, which is much easier to chain into. Plus you have this Goblin Bushwhacker already, so you don't need to search out the Goblin Bushwhacker. You can just search out a Nameseeker Goblin and attempt to go off. So let's see how we did. Oh, I bottomed the Bushwhacker? Yeah, I had to. Yeah, I'd rather keep the mutagenic growth there to protect my my creatures. That's right, it was a multi 5. And they go Lembas. I play a Sandstone Needle. And they go Synthesizer. And they have Galvanic Blast, which they decline to cast. They are scared of me. I'll go Goblin Matron, and I'll just grab an Narcomancer here. That Avenging Hunter is a pretty good pickup as well. So they go Lembas, and they're leaving up that red mana, which is noble of them. I will go for it here. I hope it's just a Lightning Bolt I need to play around. Now, I draw the second mutagenic row, so now I just go, I'll just go all in for it. I don't think that was actually necessary, and that I couldn't have, by the way, had a Goblin Bushwhacker here. I kind of forgot that, like, I didn't have haste, because this, well, I'm not going to say it's a waste of a mutagenic growth, because it did allow me to play out my whole hand here. They didn't have haste, but, I mean, it's still pretty good. I went pretty wide. I shouldn't complain. But anyway, so I go wide. They don't have a Crack Clan Shaman. That would have been absolutely wrecked me if they also had another Bolt spell and mana open, because I could have used mutagenic growth to protect my hunter. And that was one of the reasons why I shouldn't have played out the Nameseeker Goblin, perhaps, or the Goblin Matron, perhaps. Because I could use the mutagenic growth to protect my creatures. The only problem with that is it plays in very hard to Journey to Nowhere. So who knows what the right line was there. It kind of depends on the opponent's hand. All right, on to match 4. So far, we have not lost a game. Okay, match 4, game 1. Let's check out the hand here. Come on. So this is a potential turn 2 Avenging Hunter. I'm going to keep it. We're up against MNT La Contia, I think. And they go Preordain. So it's blue, which I don't like to see. Well, I mean, I kind of do, because I like how skill testing it is, but it is extremely skill testing. Oh, okay, I'll pause here. So why did I play my Nameseeker Goblin to open 2 blue mana? The answer is it's not getting any better. Like this deck has so much fixing. They're just gonna have more Preordains, more Brainstorms, things like that. And this is if there was any time for them not to have Counterspell, this is the time. Also, I'm pretty sure I recognize this person's username, and they are not one to tap out. So, or at least that's what I remember. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But anyway, let's see what I do here. So this I hit a 6 as well, which is pretty good because this allows me to grab a Nameseeker Goblin, and 4 is okay because I had the what's it called? The Simian Spirit Guide. Yeah, so as soon as they didn't counter that Nameseeker Goblin, I knew they didn't have counterspell, and so I just, went as ham as I possibly could. Okay, on to game 2. Okay, match 4, game 2. We'll check out my sideboard. So here I did what I normally do when I want to fit in all 6 copies of the Red Blasts. I take out 3 First Aid, 1 Goblin Bushwhacker, and 2 Goblin War Party. I don't know if taking out the Goblin Bushwhacker is right, but the only other options that you could really take out would be the Goblin War, would be either a 3rd copy of Goblin War Party or a Goblin Matron. And I think Goblin Bushwhacker is the most redundant out of those options, so that's why I do that. It is one of the easiest ones to put down, though, so it has the lowest floor, but also the lowest ceiling, I would say. Yeah, pretty straightforward, because I thought it was mono blue. And yeah, we'll get on to the match. Alright, so this is a lot of land, which I like to see against blue decks, but I just don't think I'm going to beat them when all their shields are up, so I have to go for something that's, faster. Like, I'm not going to rely on these Metamorphos. I'll keep this one because it has a Pyroblast in it, and also has a lot of lands. Okay, I'll bottom the forest, and they play Rustvale Bridge. So they were not, in fact, mono blue. They were Jeskai Wildfire, which can be pretty brutal because they run Breath Weapon in that deck. So I'm looking to go off in a big way, or have a Hunter that they can't kill. I'm not going to play into open mana here because it's not going to get that much worse next turn. They have 3 open, and look, they actually tapped out for 2. So that's probably the best window I'm going to have. So this is my window. I'm going to try and hopefully exchange these Metamorphos for something a little more impactful. And I'll go Metamorphos again, trying to dig for something like an Anarchomancer or a... oh, there's an Anarchomancer. That's good. So that should help. I don't have 4 mana yet, unfortunately, but it does allow me to populate the field in a big way. And they go for the remove a soul, but I had the sneaky little Simian Spirit Guide Pyroblast, and I get him for 9. It's really unfortunate that I didn't somehow have 4 mana. Oh, I did have the 4th mana, but I wasn't going to play that into open counterspell mana. And they tap out for a Murmuring Mystic here, which just means I can go absolutely ham. So I'm going to go Goblin Matrix. Well, not absolutely. There's the only way I could have gone ham there is if I hit a 6. But it did allow me to just use the Goblin War Party to pump my team, give it haste, and take him down to 1. Of note, I did have 3 Goblin Bushwhacker in there, and had that Goblin War Party been a 4th Goblin Bushwhacker, they would have just been dead. But of second note, hey, that improved the toughness of my 1/1, so they wouldn't die. Anyway, yeah, so I'm not sure if boarding out a Goblin War Party is the right call there. Okay, we'll check out the the 5th and final match of the league. Okay, 5th and final match of the league against Super Scarf. This is for the trophy. So let's see my hand. Pretty good. I really like the Goblin and Anarchomancer and the Nameseeker Goblin and the Seething Song. It's actually quite a strong hand. It is missing, though, a big payoff spell. Let's see if we can get there with it. And also green mana for this Goblin and Anarchomancer. Let's hope we can also get that. Because if I get a green mana, this might be fast enough just to be good enough on its own. Alright, so I press play. And our opponent plays a Glade Cover Scout. I'll play a Sandstone Needle and pass the turn. They go Commune with Spirits, and they go Ethereal Armor. And they get in there for 2. So that Metamorphos is pretty nice. I can't use it right away, though. So I go Nameseeker Goblin into Seething Song, into Metamorphos, green. And now I go Goblin and Anarchomancer, and unfortunately I didn't hit that much mana there. So I'm only coming in for 11 this turn, and against a deck with Armadillo Cloak, that might not be enough. And they go Slippery Bogle, Rancor, and Cartouche. So they're actually kind of walled up pretty well here. They swung in, which tells me they probably already have a cloak because they could have just held back that first strike 6-4 and been fine. But they didn't seem to be worried. Okay, so that was our first loss of the league. On to game 2. Okay, match 5, game 2. I don't sideboard against Bogles. You just need to try to be a faster deck. All right. So this hand doesn't really do anything, so I'm going to send it back. I mean, it does have double BTE, but I mean, I don't think going like BTE, BTE, like Manamorphose, Red, Red, Manamorphose, Red, Red, hope to like hit a Goblin Bushwhacker or somehow make 5 mana is, which I don't think I could even do with that combination of cards, is worth the risk. So, I mulligan. This is better because it has Goblet of Narcomancer plus Manamorphose, which is very powerful. It has the Avenging Hunter as well. I get rid of the second Avenging Hunter, I think that's what the card was in my hand, and I play Hickory Woodlot. They go Commune with Spirits. I really like Goblet and Archomancer versus Bogles because they don't run removal, and that Goblin Matron is huge. I do some math in my head, so I cast the Goblin Matron now, rather than trying to wait till I untap to grab a Namespeaker Goblin, just in order to guarantee that I can cast this Avenging Hunter with haste next turn. It's kind of important to do that against these other creature decks, because they can always like try and steal it, you know. And this puts them like way behind on the clock, so even them stealing it probably wouldn't even help now. And that was game 2. On to the final match of the league. Okay, match 5, game 3. This is the game for the trophy. Yeah, I'll keep this. Has the Goblin and Archmancer Goblin Matron hand, and I was super pumped when I saw this hand because it's very strong. So I was like, finally, I'm going to get to 5-0, because I keep getting to this stage and like making some slight decision that ends up costing me the game, and I was pretty nervous that I was going to do that again. They go Forest into Slippery Bogle. And here I play the Sandstone Needle because I'm excited. Now this is an example of something that's actually like that could cost me. I have 2 Goblin Bushwhackers in my hand, so there's a good chance I can only cast out 1 on a combo turn, and then I'll need to be able to cast a second one to finish him up in a second sweep. However, I played my Sandstone Needle first instead of this Hickory Woodlot. So if I can't finish them in 1 turn and they like put in a normal Yellow Cloak on their creature and gain enough life, I won't be able to cast another Bushwhacker to kill them. So as soon as I did this, I was like, oh no, is that going to be how I lose? Because it's stuff like that's happened before, but fortunately it didn't matter here. But but that did make me nervous. They played the free win, which I was super pumped about because that card is not very good against us. And they go Abundant Growth into all that glitters they get in, which I'm also happy about. And that second Goblin Matron will just seal the deal. So this is me going pretty ham here. And they go Namesticker Goblin, Goblin Matron, names for another Namesticker Goblin. And this math took me a little longer than it probably should, because I forgot that Goblin War Party only costs 3. So I put 3 Goblin tokens onto the battlefield, and then I go Goblin Bushwhacker kicked. And at this point, I was worried that I had like messed up by playing the Sandstone Needle, but then when I cast the War Party, I realized, oh, thank God, Goblin and Archomancer reduces it. So this is a lot of damage. It's well over lethal. And that is how we got the trophy. All right. So I swung in for 36. They took 32. So that was pretty fun. All right. I was thinking about doing some, what do you call them? Primers for like a couple of my decks to try and like help explain how they played. Just not quite sure on how to do it, but in the future I'll probably have one for this one and the Cascade deck, because I think I already did one for the Poison Storm, or I think I've done like a few. I just was never certain if I was clear or not. Okay, that's it for this video. Have a good one.